Yes, the telepathic jokes. Here we go. Well, we could do it. We could do it this telepathically, or I can use my script. But if we do it telepathically, you need to tune into my frequency, and that's not easy because I can't even tune into my frequency. All right. So, has anyone seen the sci-fi movie or read the book A Wrinkle in Time? Yes? Yes. All right. It was made into a movie, I think, in 2003, and then there's a later version, 2018. So, and the song you just heard from Sade is the soundtrack to the movie. So, this was from a novel by Madeleine L'Engle, and back in 1962 was one of a series of children's kind of sci-fi books, but this one was a particular favorite. The main characters in the book, A Wrinkle in Time, Meg Murray, Charles Wallace Murray, and Calvin O'Keefe, embark on a journey through space and time, from galaxy to galaxy, as they endeavor to rescue the Murray's father and fight the black thing that has intruded into several worlds. The novel offers a glimpse into the war between light and darkness, and good and evil, as the young characters mature into adolescence on their journey, and wrestles with questions of spirituality and purpose, as the characters are often thrown into conflicts of love, divinity, and goodness. And why do I mention this novel and movie? Because the original story features Mrs. What's-It, Mrs. Who, and Mrs. Which, as well as other beings who communicate telepathically. And I find that rather cool. It's one of several children's stories featuring characters who communicate telepathically. So, it seems to me, and I think most, if not all, evolutionary biologists would agree with me. As a human species, our biological evolution has long since peaked. It's unlikely that our bodies will grow additional appendages anytime soon. Therefore, the only evolving we can possibly do at this stage of our evolution is psychic. The development of our, in most cases, untapped mental and intuitive abilities. And they include such things as telepathy, precognition, clairvoyance, telekinesis, mediumship, remote viewing, enhanced intuition, and energy healing. For the purpose of my talk today, I will focus mainly on telepathy. And where did this newfound interest come from? Number one, needing a new topic to give a spiel on. Number two, a podcast series, the Telepathy Tapes. I just happened to stumble upon this. I got into it, and here I am. So let me tell you a little bit about the Telepathy Tapes podcast series. These are not my words. I'm pulling this from the introduction to the series. In a world that often dismisses the extraordinary as mere fantasy, the Telepathy Tapes dares to explore the profound abilities of non-speakers with autism, individuals who have long been misunderstood and underestimated. These silent communicators possess gifts that defy conventional understanding, from telepathy to otherworldly perceptions, challenging the limits of what we believe to be real. For years, their parents and teachers have quietly witnessed these remarkable abilities, knowing that the time to share their truth would eventually come. And now, as the evidence mounts, the time has come to reveal what has been hidden in plain sight. traveling with neuroscientist Dr. Diane Hennessy Powell, witnessing mind-boggling telepathy tests and forging deeply intimate relationships with families around the globe, host Kai Dickens invites you to contemplate the world through the eyes of those who speak without words. So there are 14 episodes in the series, and they're actually working on the second season, of this telepathy podcast tapes. So I'm going to share a brief synopsis of 6 of the episodes, just to give you an idea of what they contain. And then I will follow that with my personal key takeaways and questions. Then I'll wrap it up and come into land. So, I'm jumping to episode 2. In this episode, Kai travels to New Jersey to meet Akhil, a college student with non-verbal autism, and his mother Manisha. What begins as an exploration of telepathy soon reveals something far more profound, a merging of consciousness. Akhil not only reads thoughts, but appears to share his mother's awareness, sensing details about her experiences without being physically present. Through a series of astonishing tests, Akhil demonstrates an ability to perceive the world in ways that challenge the very foundations of science. He demonstrates an uncanny ability to read minds, accurately state randomly generated numbers and words, interpret abstract images, and solve complex equations without ever seeing the input. So I don't want to say much more about that particular episode. If you want to get a more detailed understanding of the tests they carried out on him, go to the episode on the podcast, or you can go to the Telepathy Tapes website where they have the corresponding videos. Okay, episode 3. In this episode, Kai Dickens heads to Georgia. She's no longer asking if telepathy is possible, but how it's possible. The narrative deepens as Kai recounts the story of Katie and her non-speaking son, Houston, who can apparently read minds. Now, Houston would have been classified as severely autistic, as he would often run around naked and would smear his feces on the walls. He spoke his first words at 17. He appeared one night in his mother's bedroom, very calmly asserted, "I love you, Mom." And that was the beginning of their journey. So his mom came to a deeper realization of what she always intuitively knew. Her son was very aware, very intelligent. So she worked with him for years using what they call the RPM spelling board. It's a tool that parents of autistic children use to help them to communicate. Houston telepathically engages with other non-speakers in phenomenon they call, these are the non-speaking autistic kids, the talk on the hill. This is like Houston and other autistic non-speakers have the ability to meet each other silently and telepathically by tuning into the same frequency. And apparently they can do this from any distance, different zip codes, different cities. They meet at a certain time, on arranged days, they tune into this frequency, and they have their talk on the hill. According to his mother, Houston sees and hears all living things, even stones. He senses their electromagnetic vibrational frequencies. This episode also highlights the challenges faced by families with non-speaking children, their journey to find hope, and the potential implications of telepathy as a shared reality, suggesting a profound interconnectedness among humans. All right, that was episode 4. Sorry, that was episode 3. Episode 4. So in this episode, Kai Dickens journeys to meet John Paul, a 16-year-old with autism, who shares a deep telepathic connection with his friend Houston and his girlfriend Lily. It delves into the unique relationship between John Paul and Lily, who communicate mind to mind, revealing a love story that forges a transcendent bond while challenging our conventional understanding of young love. The episode introduces the concept of savant skills, extraordinary abilities that defy conventional explanations. Savants have exceptional skills in music, language, math, and art without any formal training or exposure to those skills. Many non-speaking, autistic children demonstrate such skills, which cannot be explained by the materialist model of reality. Many also have ESP abilities like precognition. Neuroscientist Dr. Diane Hennessy Powell believes that just as traditional savant skills are accepted despite their mysterious nature, ESP should be acknowledged as a savant skill and studied as a legitimate phenomenon. This particular episode explains the EEG testing done on the kids and explores the brainwave patterns they experience. The episode also raises important questions about the nature of consciousness and the societal gatekeeping that often silences the parents, the teachers, and those who are having these extraordinary experiences. All right. Episode 5. For me, this was so far the most powerful episode. In this episode, the focus shifts to educators who have witnessed telepathy among their non-speaking autistic students. So this episode shares testimonies from brave teachers who risked their reputations to discuss their first-hand experiences of students reading minds. In one example, a special ed teacher from England shares how Asher, a quite mischievous student, developed the ability to communicate with her telepathically, and she, in time, over time, developed the ability to respond to his telepathic communications. Now, when Asher grew into adulthood, he developed the ability to speak normally. But then he shut down this practice to focus exclusively on communicating telepathically. And when he was asked, why did he do this? This is what he responded. Telepathy is a much more streamlined way of communicating. For non-speaking autistic individuals, trying to produce sound is very difficult and discordant. Words, for us, are the freezing of ideas and sounds into symbols. It's a barrier to neurodiverse people and a crude method of communicating. In another example, a speech pathologist working with a 4-year-old non-speaking autistic boy describes how one day she saw what she describes as a body of light floating around his physical form. And in that moment, he telepathically communicated to her, these are his words, "That's my light body. You are here to put my light body back into my physical body." All right, so all of those stories, and they're fascinating, are in episode 5. All right, episode 6. So this episode explores the rich history of telepathy research in both humans and animals, uncovering groundbreaking studies that challenge the materialist worldview. Leading scientists suggest that consciousness, not matter, may be the fundamental building block of the universe, offering a powerful explanation for telepathy and other unexplained phenomena. We hear from Dr. Diane Hennessy Powell, whose work on telepathy in non-speakers has spanned over a decade, and from Dr. Rupert Sheldrake, a Cambridge biologist whose career was transformed after learning about a blind boy who could seemingly see through his mother's eyes. And this discovery led Dr. Sheldrake to study telepathy, particularly in animals, revealing the profound bonds between pets and their owners. Dr. Dean Radin, Chief Scientist at the Institute of Noetic Science, guides us through the history of telepathy research, including the pivotal Ganzfeld studies, which provided strong evidence for the existence of telepathy over the past several decades. The episode introduces groundbreaking ideas about a new scientific paradigm, where consciousness is viewed as the most fundamental building block of the universe. Dr. Marjorie Woolacott, the president of the Academy for the Advancement of Post-Materialist Sciences, also shares how her research supports the idea that consciousness may not be confined to the brain, but is rather a pervasive force in the universe. And the episode also includes Dr. Sheldrake's research on telepathic connections between animals and their human companions. So if you listen to episode 6, you'll hear about a parrot in New York with a 1,500-word vocabulary. It's probably more than mine. Who also has a telepathic connection with its owner. That one's a lot of fun. You'll also hear about a troop of elephants and their emotional connection with their trainer, which continued long after he died. And of course, the deep connection dogs demonstrate with their owners. All right, the final episode I want to give you a little synopsis of is episode 7. So this episode explores the spiritual gifts and emotional intelligence of non-speaking autistic kids. We learn how the spiritual gifts of these children vary, ranging from the ability to understand foreign languages intuitively to communicating with spiritual beings of higher realms. It returns to the British teacher Jess and her deep bond with Asher. Once when she was reading this very esoteric book on metaphysics or something, she just couldn't grasp it. So he took it from her hands and he laid his hands over the book. And in a few moments, he was able to give her a very accurate summary of what it was about, without ever having read or seen the book. He told her that he did this with all books he wanted to understand. I want that gift. So here he's demonstrating in psychic terminology what is called psychometry. In this episode, teachers, ministers, therapists, and other non-speakers describe similar experiences, challenging traditional ideas about disability and inspiring questions about a deeper, interconnected consciousness. All right, my personal takeaways and questions. 1. Extensive, but not always widely accepted research on telepathy, ESP, and PSI phenomena all challenge the conventional materialist model of reality. Secondly, the brain is, in the words of Aldous Huxley, a reducing valve through which we perceive and filter the world in a very limited way. Thirdly, as humans, we tap into rather than create consciousness. We have access to what Deepak Chopra calls the infinite energy field of intelligence. A non-speaking autistic individual seem to live there quite seamlessly and naturally. That's their natural environment. Fourthly, non-speaking autistic children can clearly and consciously merge with other higher energy fields, giving them access to and understanding of information they couldn't or wouldn't otherwise have. They don't process information through sensory and motor skills like most of us, but through the transfer of energy, thought, light, emotion, sound. Filtering their understanding of the world through a letterboard is cumbersome and difficult for them. Consequently, many of them prefer telepathic communication with each other and others. And my last takeaway from the series is, as a human species, we have a deep intrinsic need to connect with each other. And eventually, I believe, we will develop the ability to do this telepathically. And we will come to understand consciousness as the foundational building block of reality. In the words of Nikola Tesla, Serbian-American inventor and engineer, my brain is only a receiver. In the universe, there is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration. I have not penetrated into the secrets of this core, but I know that it exists. Thank you for your time and attention.